Good morning, Jenny.
Hi, Michael. How are you doing?
Good. I just have to rename myself.
Sounds good. I'm just gonna go grab a charger quick.
All right. Yeah, you don't want to run out of battery.
No, that's the worst time to do it.
I wish I could tell you it's never happened to me, but
I think it happens to the best of us.
yeah. Well, like a lot of things, usually it only has to happen once or twice for you to be sensitive to it. So,
Hmm.
Hello.
Morning.
Jen, I love your background. Is that a false screen or is
Yeah.
that
No, that's not real. It's good because most of my meetings someone will ask if it is real. So
yeah.
it seems to work, but it's completely fake.
Well, it's funny because it works till you motion.
Yeah.
You don't see the artifacts until you gesture.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's good. Gloria, good morning.
Hi. Jenny, I know you sent it to me. Can you resend the large blurb, the long blurb?
Yeah.
Yeah, just that I had it and then I lost it again. So,
Yeah. Sorry, I had to put out a flame at my other job and run over there quick this morning, so I was offline for like the last hour.
okay. Yeah, no, you got me everything else. Thank you.
So Gloria, I saw your query this morning,
Uh-huh.
and yes, certainly the most significant issue I think with this legislation is the imposition of a demo delay in local historic district legislation. So
Yeah, but
that
that's
is
that's not mentioned in that summary that John sent.
no, yes, John Ninari's summary.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it talks about, standardizing terminology, which, yeah, we would all love. Standardizing a demolition delay period, which we would all love, but it doesn't say anything about limiting LHDs.
Yeah. Well, the whole
Hey,
reason
Jen, we're on our second one, hopefully.
Oh, you are? What are you
We're
looking at?
trying to get the Zerngiebel Wyeth House on South Street uh
What property?
acknowledged. It's the NC Wyeth House on South Street.
Oh, okay. I'll look it up and see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 178 South.
oh,
Hey,
Jane, you
Jane.
came in as Tom. Okay.
Huh?
Your
Oh,
your
I'm
husband?
Tom.
Yeah, she just comes in as Tom.
He has been my husband for quite some time, yes.
Is that a good thing?
Oh, 60 years, I think so.
Oh my gosh. Too late to change now.
Ah,
Well, I'm still breaking them in, Gloria.
Of
ah.
course. Uh, Obviously.
Hey, I don't know if I like the ratio here. Yeah, I've been married 50 years and I'm
Oh,
still learning.
Yeah,
yes.
we're coming up
Good.
on 45. Two Jennifers
According
are
to my
such
partner,
children.
I'm still learning.
Yes, good. I hope Tom can say the same.
Good morning, Michael.
Hi, everybody.
Good morning.
So Gloria, do you have a list of questions that you wanted to share with Jen and Michael, or?
Um, not for them because that's pretty straightforward. The thing I need to ask Russ and Larry, if they don't raise it themselves, is, and they did mention yesterday, this is very controversial. People will be throwing stuff at us. It's like, why do what's the problem you're trying to fix? I mean, in nicer terms.
Yeah.
Um, you know, this is something a lot of towns fight for because it does produce durable protection. What is the problem you're trying to fix that you think, needs to be changed? And who benefits townwide and in the town community and the preservation community, who benefits from this change? Other than developers who want to tear houses down, which is the way it seems to me if you put a delay on. Let's see. Let's try to get not backlit here. Maybe frontlit. That's better.
How many
Oh,
people have signed up for this program?
We were at 91 this morning when I
Oh my
pulled
gosh.
everybody's names and contact info.
How wonderful.
That's not any better. Don't mind me. Vertigo moving stuff around. That's not better either.
that's good, Gloria. It's
Is that
nice.
better?
Yeah.
Better looking than the bare walls, but I have one window on that side, and
Yeah.
normally I'm just backlit. So yeah, with that, did you send me that thing? That was the last piece I needed. Jane, you got my bio?
I do.
And I think we've got Jenny, I'm still not seeing it.
Oh, I just forwarded it to you
Oh,
with
okay.
the title blurb, but I can send it again if I need to.
And I want to check on April 17th. Is that a newly scheduled definite conversation on mass educational frameworks?
Yes, that was we
Okay.
decided yesterday.
Okay.
That's what was on our schedule.
Okay, the 17th.
And we were looking at the dates, but the Friday before and after are not any good, so we're sticking with the 17th, which seems to work for everybody.
Okay.
And
And
gives us what, 3
and
weeks to get
Jane,
the
did
next
you
one?
get the May, I think it's May 3rd, the unwritten history
No,
forum
no.
conversation? So we've got two scheduled.
Okay,
One is April 17th,
okay.
and the other is I have it down as the 8th. Did we say May? No, May 1st, I think.
Okay. Is what?
I'm sorry. What do you guys have? Do you guys have it down at all?
I'm gonna go back to here for.
I
It
wasn't
has
on that
specific-
meeting, but I don't have the May event on my
see.
calendar.
So the unwritten history was moved from March 3rd to May.
I can just say in May and look
Yes,
out for
thank you.
April
Okay, so
17th.
what is it? The unwritten history,
Unwritten history.
period?
I think that's
We said we moved it to the third session. Did we give it an actual date?
well, we were talking about the 1st to the 8th, and I've got both marked off.
Okay.
So
I can
I'm
just
not,
say, stay tuned and check your
yeah,
website.
it's far
Yeah.
enough
There-
out.
But is it just called unwritten history?
Gloria, do you have a further?
It was called, why didn't I learn that in school? Was that the one?
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. And today's title is,
Uh,
I have rewriting historic preservation legislation.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Jenny, it's still not coming through. I don't know why. I'll put it in the chat. See if I can lift it out of there.
So Michael, do you have slides you're going to present?
I do have a PowerPoint. It looks like I can share my screen.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So,
it's a good thing to try. I was going to suggest, why don't you try it just to make sure things.
okay. All right, let me go ahead and share. And does that look okay?
Awesome.
Okay, let me escape, stop share.
Yeah, that looks good. Oh, good.
Okay.
All right.
Okay,
So we
Leave it
got
up for a
step
minute. I have
one.
to transcribe it.
it's
Now, who's going to monitor the chat? Is Jenny Burke? Is that you?
Yes. I'm not sure how you want me to get important questions to Gloria, but Gloria, do you want me to just send you individual chat?
You can pop them in the chat, or you could just say, when there's a um, when there's a lull, say, okay, I have a question from so and so.
Okay. Yeah. If I see important things, I'll just send you an individual chat on it.
Yeah.
So what else can we accomplish in the next?
Uh, I'm sorry, I'm trying to transcribe this because I don't know why it's not copying for me.
All right. So Jane, you're going to you're going to kick off the call, right?
Yeah, I'm Vanna White. They're the hostess with the mostest.
All right.
If you've ever heard of her. If you haven't, that's
Of course. Yeah.
fine. That's fine too.
Yeah. And do we start right at 12? Is that
Yes.
good?
We
Okay.
try to, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think we'll be hard pressed to get everything in 1 hour.
Yes.
I didn't want to extend this first one. I thought it better just to keep it an hour. Russ and Larry had suggested that, maybe this is one of more than a plural, one of many or one of
Real
two.
quick, sorry to interrupt. I have a name that I don't recognize trying to join the chat now, and I'm not sure if it's our other person or
What's it from? Arrow Street?
It says KAR120C.
Oh. Well, you could let him in
It
and
could
then
just, no. It's
No,
probably
no.
just a lot of people do log in early and we just hold them
Yeah.
for a bit.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll hold that
great.
person.
all
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Do you want to make us, if you make me a co-host, I can help you bring people in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
and
keep an eye on the.
do you pin the presenter or don't bother doing that? Or you just mute, do you mute the everyone else? I think with Zoom,
Yeah.
what happens sometimes if someone um rustles paper, um, you know, the screen will go to I guess we're not having a presenter. I forget how they do it. Primary screen. Maybe I'm getting my meeting apps mixed up. Does Zoom have a primary screen where the presenter is large and the others are small?
Yeah, you could do, if you look at the 9 dots up at the top,
Yeah,
it'll give you a thing that says speaker and gallery.
yeah.
Go to gallery, that gives you everybody. You go to speaker, it just gives you the person speaking.
Okay.
Oh, there's dynamic.
Oh, good morning, Russ.
Good morning.
Okay.
Thanks
Yeah,
for joining.
I noticed when I came in, I was muted. So maybe it's set up so that folks are muted as a standard.
Oh, okay.
It is. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
Larry
Russ,
will be in a little later. He has a meeting he's trying to get out of right now.
No worries. Russ, do you have the slides, or
I
does
do.
Larry? Do you want to just test sharing your screen, just so to
Sure.
make sure it works?
Yeah, that's fine. Let's see. Whoops. Are you seeing the,
We're seeing the
Here we
prompt.
go.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
okay, and I'm just going to shift right now to the slideshow,
Yep.
and hopefully it opens up.
It's still in. It's not.
So,
Yeah,
there
there
it
it
is.
is.
Yep.
okay, and so if I flick things, that works.
Mhm.
Good.
Okay.
Excellent. So Michael has a slideshow as well.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll be presenting his, and then I don't know, Gloria, are you gonna then introduce? I think what you said was you'll introduce each one individually. So you'll introduce Michael.
Yeah, so
Sure.
what I'm gonna, I'll go through I'll do the blurb, and I'll say basically today we have two presentations and a follow-up commentary at the end. Our first presenter is Michael Steinertz, then I will introduce him. And then after his presentation, I will introduce Larry and Russ. That way
Right.
people don't have to keep track of who is, was he the guy? Was he the guy? This way they
No,
sort of
that's
have it.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
And then following the two presentations, we will open it for discussion. And then at 12:50, I will introduce Jenn for her final comments. And then, are you going to do the closing, Jane?
No, you usually do that, I think.
Okay, so I will do. Okay, so then I'll, send everybody off with do the chat. See us in April. Thank you for coming. Look at the website.
So is there going to be a survey as part of this program too?
Yes,
Okay.
that's
Because I say that.
yeah, so
There is the poll and then the survey that I put up at the beginning and then the survey that I put in at the end.
Okay, thank you.
yeah, where did I put the
I just want to verify that it's
It's
there.
12:55 in the notes, Gloria.
I see the survey. I don't see I think I dropped the poll out.
The Okay, I've got the poll being launched right after you or right before you introduce Michael.
Okay, so I introduced the
12:05.
topic, then I introduced the poll. And then I introduced the presenters.
That's what I have, yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
Lawrence Spang is our last person to enter that we need now.
Right.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Just double checking I've got the names right.
Okay.
Yeah,
There
it's
he
not
is.
within our. I'll have to apologize to him for that misspelling. That was my error.
Make sure yes, I got it got it correctly on the intros.
Morning, Larry.
Greetings all.
Okay.
This is the test of the system. Is it, you can hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yep. We heard you, and Russ presented the slides, so we know that works. So I
Good.
think we get the logistics down.
Okay, we have ignition.
Yeah. T minus
Yeah.
10 minutes and counting. So
Yeah, okay, that's good.
I will be right back.
yeah, I guess we could pause here, right?
Yeah, that's not unusual. We sometimes tuned in at 11:30 and then had a few minutes to, before we reconvened. Before 12, as long as it was before 12.
Got it.
Okay. I will be back in a couple minutes then.
Yeah, I'm gonna grab a water. So Jenny, how do you know how many people are going to attend? Is there a pre-registration on the
We
site?
we have an Eventbrite site that we use for free tickets, but then also some people give us donations through it.
Okay.
So the last I checked, it was 91 of 155 people, and we've made $102.91 in donations.
Well, okay.
535 views, but 91 people RSVP'd.
Okay.
Where are you, Jenny, physically?
Ashfield.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
It's nice to see you.
Yeah.
So I don't know where Ashfield is.
Do
Is
you
that
know
next
Shelburne
door?
Falls?
What's that?
Do you know Shelburne Falls?
Sure. Yeah.
So we are a little bit west of there.
So you're in the Berkshires?
Just the very edge. We're still hill towns.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a little tiny museum, but it's got a lot of big history. We have the Howes Brothers glass plate slide collection, the Belding collection, things like that.
Cool.
Real quick, when did we want to drop in the email contact for John? Because I don't have that in the schedule.
So I was like, as part of my wrap up, I was just gonna say like whatever, sort of summarize whatever folks were saying, and then say that they would, if they are looking to comment further, if they didn't get an opportunity to comment, whatever the case may be, that they could contact him. And then I figure if you want to drop that in the chat, then
Perfect. I'm just going to put that in the notes so that I've got it ready to go. Thank you.
Yes, I also
sounds
have
good.
it listed on the slide, the last slide of our presentation. So they'll have it then.
So Russ, one of the things we were just commenting on in John Nunari's summary, he doesn't specifically mention the inclusion of demo delay in historic districts.
Yeah.
Is that something you're going to speak to in your slides?
We will.
Good.
That's the easiest thing of all, in a sense, because it was simply an error in the legislative language. because the attorney who wrote it didn't understand that the historic district commissions already have better authority than that. So
Okay.
that's just going to be taken away.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, so that's one of the things we'll mention is having feedback and planning on in a revision that'll come forward sometime in the future. That won't be there.
All right. Well, I think that'll temper a lot of the concerns that
Yes.
have been, at least on the Mass Historic Pres listserv. I don't know if you monitor that.
I do.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was certainly what everybody reacted to for good reason. That's one of the reasons we're looking to get this kind of feedback to see what mistakes are included. I think some folks concluded our motivation was questionable, but in fact, people make mistakes, and this was just one of them.
Okay. Well, getting close to.
This is always the awkward moment.
Yeah.
I wish one of the other awkward moments is when we're waiting to get started and the fifth or seventh person is coming into the meeting and nobody wants to get going yet. And so everybody's staring at each other. And I wish I knew how to put some jazz music in the background or something to
Get your
Just to
iPod
keep us
going.
entertained. Yeah.
Yeah. We can be letting people in now. It's almost
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Russ, that's why you're supposed to talk about the Red Sox. That's the
That's what
Or
sports are
weather.
for. That's right.
yeah, sports or weather.
Yeah.
And here we are in exactly that situation. Where's the jazz?
Well, if I could play an instrument, I'd do it, but
Oh, well, you could give us a tutorial on bending wood.
I could.
There you go.
I've done it a lot and not too successfully either. So I've made my share of mistakes doing that. It's a fine art, bending wood.
Oh, it is. I know. I'm attempting it now myself. And
Oh, are you? Are you steaming it or?
well, I haven't decided on the technique yet. It's a little bit different. I have the face of a grandfather clock. I work on clocks a bit as a hobby, and this one face, the wooden face that sits in front of the clock,
Yep.
clock face, is terribly warped. And trying to bring it back, it has a veneer on one side of it, and so warping that, I'm a little nervous trying to straighten it.
There's nothing quite like a good grandfather clock. I have one in my front hall. I love it.
Yes,
It's so calming just hearing it tick.
We have a 1740 Hinton Brown.
Oh my.
Whoa. Does
Yeah,
it still run?
It does. It needs a little work right now. And I don't know if you knew Bert Wickstrom in Needham. He had a jewelry store, but he was in fact a clockmaker and
Okay.
used to do wonderful work on. Unfortunately, he passed away, so we don't have anybody to
I was a
That's
clockmaker in Holliston. So
Oh,
I have a clock maker in Holliston.
Okay, I'll catch you up about
and
that.
he works on the gears and stuff?
He does. He restores. He's got a few in his shop. 1800 clocks that he's restored. But of course, it's not cheap. But
No,
Lexington
but
Museum
the
just
clock was.
posted about
It's
someone.
interesting because Hinton Brown was mostly a watchmaker. He didn't make a lot of large clocks.
Hmm.
He was also Ben Franklin's London banker,
wow.
among other things. He was a Quaker.
Well,
a beautiful
perhaps
clock.
the one useless thing you might get today, the term grandfather clock, clock folks usually refer to them as called tall case
A
clocks.
long case clock, yeah.
And the name grandfather clock came from the song.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, that's, as I say, the one useless thing of the day.
No.
Good. Oops. Hi, everybody. We'll start in a few minutes. People are still coming in.
Speaking of clocks,
Thinking
Russ,
which-
you're,
Just heard
You hear
somebody's
it.
clock.
Okay, that's fine. Yes.
I was going to say, are all your clocks going to start now?
Well, within the sort of about 5 minutes, plus and minus. Yes, I actually have 17 clocks all
Wow.
running, and so, but not in this room. You will. No, I guess the other one is running fast, so we got through that. So that's okay.
Yeah, I just realized we're at the noon hour, which is usually when you have to mute yourself.
Right, exactly. We also have to pause the television if we're watching at midnight.
So Gloria, Jane, who starts it off?
I started off, but people are still coming in, so I'll wait a minute.
Give them a couple minutes, yeah.
So Russ, do you work on clocks yourself?
I do, and have managed to keep them going. But I am always in search of someone who's more competent than I am in clock repair. I've done this for decades at this point, and the sad reality is that the people who can work on clocks like this are all dying off. There are very few around, so I'm interested in your Holliston person just to know about them.
Well, he's very competent, but he's not cheap. He charged $400 to come to my house to inspect my clock and oil it. So, but he did show me how to oil it myself. So the last 2 years, the last 4 years of biannually oiled it. So
Good.
and it's running well.
Yeah, we enjoy it. I'm speaking for my wife as well, who I'd say enjoys it because I enjoy it. But it's all part of the fun. I thought I'd set up my microphone so that it would depress the sounds of ticking and clanging, but it sounds like you folks heard stuff
We
before.
just heard one. So
Okay. And you're not hearing the ticks.
no.
Good. Yeah, that's maybe
Russ,
becomes a little creepy.
Can you see the clock in the background of my, do
Oh,
you see that
yes.
way
There
out
you
there?
go. Sure.
We have
Okay,
3
fine.
and we need a clock repair guy. We'll have to talk later about that.
Okay.
This
Maybe
poor
drop
guy
him
in
in the chat
Holliston's going to be
later.
overwhelmed.
That's right. Well,
Yeah, my husband's grandfather was a clockmaker. He was a jeweler.
Oh, yeah.
And clockmaker, and his last apprentice, who was quite good, was in San Francisco. So when we inherited some watches from my husband's mother, 19th century watches, he was able to do, all the repairs and make the little bits that needed to be replaced and things like that. But of course, he's long gone as well.
Mhm.
Jenny,
Yeah,
are
it's
there
not-
more people waiting to be let in?
As of
we
right
got
now, no. Everybody that has joined has been let in.
Okay, so I think it is time to welcome everybody to Conversations on the Commons, a project of the Mass History Alliance. And we are back. This is a treat because we have not been present for a while, but welcome to all our old and new friends. It's really nice to be here and see you again. So this event is being live streamed on YouTube. And those of you watching there are invited to comment and send questions, which we will monitor to the best of our ability. And this is exactly what it says it is. It is a conversation, and we depend not just on the speakers, but on everyone to participate. We can learn from everybody. And I also first would like to remind you of an upcoming conversation on April 17th, so we'll be back again. And it is meeting the new Massachusetts educational frameworks. But before we start, it's my job to give you some housekeeping rules. Once we start the conversation, please keep your microphone muted until you are called on, lowers the background noise. This is meant to be informal, so even if you're eating lunch and you still want to be seen, that's perfectly fine with us. So we invite you to turn on your video, use chat. We send it around after. Start by introducing yourself. Put your name, email address, and town, or share organizations if you want to share those. Also comment, ask questions, share resources, or raise any tech issues. Of course, if there's a tech issue, let us know right away during the conversation. Let us know you have something to say by raising your hand, another way to communicate. And if you are on the phone, just ask to break in. Make sure that your name is correct in the participants list, and thanks to Mike, mine now is. You can do this by hovering over your name in the list, then clicking More. If you're on your phone, just click Participants and then click your name. If we get Zoom bombed, which we haven't been, but we feel compelled to tell you this, we will immediately close the conversation and send you a link to a new one to start immediately. So look at your email if that happens. After today's conversation, please leave us with a survey response, which you will get at the end of the program. The link is in the chat. For those of you following the live stream on the comment site, there's a link to the survey in the conversations archive. And as always, we'd like to thank the Mass History Alliance's top sponsors, Mass Humanities, the State Historical Records Advisory Board, Mike Petoskey, and the Dorchester Historical Society. You can find a list of all our sponsors on the Commons website. The link will be in the chat. And we also would like to invite you to list your organizations in the Commons directory and sponsor the Commons. Everything costs money. If you can only spare $25, we will gladly have it. So thank you so much. And it is my pleasure now to introduce today's moderator and member of the program committee, Gloria Grice, who has been executive director of the Needham History Center and Museum since 2002.
22,
Wow.
yeah, 2002.
Prior to Needham, she was Peabody Research Fellow at the Peabody Museum of Archaeology and Ethnology at Harvard and Collections Manager for the Peabody's Archaeology and Human Osteology Collections. Thank you for making these words so simple, Gloria. She holds a PhD in anthropology, specializing in the archaeology of prehistoric Europe. Gloria is the author of several books and films on archaeology and local history, and of numerous articles and a weekly post on local history, archaeology, and various other topics. She also hosts a monthly podcast on Needham history and the community. She is an honorary fellow of the Massachusetts Historical Society, on the program committee of the Mass History Alliance, and the secretary of the Photographic Historical Society of New England. In Needham, she is currently a member of the Needham Historical Commission, the Town Seal Review Committee, the Arts and Culture Committee, and the Charles River Regional Chamber, and co-president of the Great Hall Performance Foundation. And with all her attributes, we are delighted that she had time to host this, to moderate this event. So Gloria, take it away.
Thank you so much, Jane. And thank you everybody for joining us today for this important conversation. We are very happy to be back. Conversations on the Commons had a bit of a hiatus, but we're trying to get back on schedule. So we hope you will join us in the future as well. So today's topic is rewriting historic preservation legislation. So how best to support town-based preservation with state legislation? Preservation can be promoted through a combination of factors, some altruistic, some financial, and some regulatory. This conversation will explore how the latter can promote and in some cases retard the goal of historic preservation. Before we start the presentations, we have a quick poll. I believe we have 3 or 4 questions. If you could just, this should pop up on your screen in a minute. If you can just hit the buttons and submit. So scroll down because there are some additional questions. And we'll give you about a minute. Okay. We still getting answers in?
Nope, that was all of it.
Looks like, yep, it looks like it stopped. Okay. So, Jenny, I'm seeing the answers, right?
Correct.
Okay, so it looks like most, interestingly, fewer historical society and museum people than we usually get. Only a couple, but a bunch of you are from local historical commissions, government offices, or preservation organizations. No public libraries today, and a few independent professionals. Most of you were aware of the proposed legislation and have some interest in speaking to it before it's resubmitted. Most of your towns, wow, 87% have a demolition delay bylaw. That's excellent. And 87% also have a local historic district bylaw. So I think we've got a nice experienced group that will have a lot to say today. So let's get started. Okay, that can come. I don't know if there you go. So today we have 2 presentations, and then we're going to have a follow-up commentary at the end. So our first presenter is Michael Steinertz, who will speak about the current historic preservation legislation, and that will be followed by Larry Spang and Russ Feldman, who will introduce the proposed new legislation. So starting with Michael. Michael Steinertz is the Deputy State Historical Preservation Officer and Director of the Preservation Planning Division of the Massachusetts Historical Commission, where he has been staff since 1989. At MHC, he supervises the Survey, National Register, State Register, Local Government, and MACRIS database programs. He also oversees the office's annual survey and planning grant program and is the lead on the MHC's review and approval of new preservation easements. Trained as a historical geographer with a PhD from Clark University, he began his career in historic preservation in 1978 as co-author of the first Massachusetts statewide preservation plan, and subsequently was named a member of the MHC statewide reconnaissance survey team. He is a past president of the Society for Industrial Archaeology, the Southern New England chapter, and is wrapping up his term as treasurer of the New England chapter of the Vernacular Architecture Forum. He was a contributing author with Joseph Wood of The New England Village, published by Johns Hopkins University Press, and he has contributed articles and reviews to Perspectives in Vernacular Architecture, the Journal of Historical Geography, and the New England Quarterly, the Geographical Review, and the Massachusetts Historical Review. Please welcome Michael Steinertz.
Thanks, Gloria. So let me share my screen. And from the beginning. Okay. So I see a lot of familiar faces today, and thanks for the Alliance for having us. So I've just been asked to give a quick 5-minute overview of some of the existing state statutes and local bylaws that are the subject of this proposed legislation, especially for any Alliance members here who may not be that familiar with the sort of the general topic of discussion. So, and that would be local historic districts and local historic district commissions, local historical commissions, and demolition delay. So a quick review to refresh everybody's memory. So the first modern legal historic preservation framework established in Massachusetts was one of the ones with the strongest teeth, the establishment of the first local historic districts in Nantucket and on Beacon Hill in Boston in 1955. There being no clear mechanism at that time for establishing these regulatory districts at the local level, they were both created by special acts of the state legislature, and their legality was affirmed by the Supreme Judicial Court that found that the regulation of alterations in a local historic district was not a taking of property rights. The legality of these special act districts having been established, there was quickly a move to pass a state statute enabling cities and towns to create such districts and providing a framework for how they are to be administered and enforced, leading to the Historic District Acts of 1960, codified as Mass General Laws, Chapter 40C, the statute under which the vast majority of local historic district commissions operate today in Massachusetts. And this is a photo that came to us recently of Governor Ferkalow signing some historic preservation law in 1960, and we determined that, in fact, was the Historic District Acts. Two of the petitioners to the legislature were the landscape architect Charles Eliot II on the left, and I think we've determined that the guy in the middle, looking over the governor's shoulder, is the architect Charles Dean, AIA. And it would be great interest of what role AIA played in the establishment of the Historic Districts Act back in 1960. I think it was probably a role of some substance. So under Chapter 40C, procedures are set for establishing a local historic district by 2/3 vote of the local legislative body, sets requirements for appointments to the local historic district commission, which must include an architect, a realtor, and a historical society nominee. It empowers the district commission to regulate alterations to buildings and structures visible from the public way, including existing and new construction in the district. Certificates of appropriateness, inapplicability, or hardship are required before a building permit can be issued. The commission can deny approval for inappropriate alterations, including demolitions. Certain exemptions from regulations may be allowed, but the intent is to protect the overall character of the district. Under Chapter 40C, 112 communities have established one or more local historic districts in Massachusetts. Another dozen districts were established under Special Act. Local historic districts are one of the strongest forms of protection available for historic resources in Massachusetts. So the next milestone came in 1963 with the statute enabling cities and towns to create local historical commissions, now known as Mass General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 8D. Unlike local historic district commissions, local historical commissions are not given any regulatory powers under the statute. They can conduct, maintain, and publish research on historic properties and sites. They can coordinate with other organizations, list properties in the National Register of Historic Places, cooperate with the state archaeologists, enter into contracts, receive funds, and acquire an interest in real properties. Some communities have combined their local historic district commission and their historical commission. So the commission then has a regulatory role in the local historic district and a more general planning and advisory role community-wide. So how does demolition delay fit into this framework? Under home rule, municipalities can act a demolition delay bylaw or ordinance administered by the local historical commission, which now does take on a regulatory role. The bylaw does not prevent demolition, but allows the local historical commission to impose a pause, most typically 6 to 12 months, to allow alternatives to demolition to be considered before a demolition permit can be issued. Once the delay period ends, however, if no alternative solution has been found, the demolition permit is issued. The City of Cambridge enacted the first demolition delay ordinance in 1979, and its legality was subsequently upheld by the courts. There is no enabling statute. MHC provides a model bylaw, but communities have flexibility in how they shape their ordinance to their local situation. Generally, MHC recommends that the bylaw apply to buildings over a certain age or built prior to a certain year. There is a two-step process where the local historical commission first determines whether the building is significant. If so, it then holds a hearing to determine whether it is preferably preserved, in which case the delay is imposed. To date, in part because of the flexibility allowed under home rule for tailoring the bylaw to their needs, 160 communities in Massachusetts have adopted demolition bylaw or ordinance. The delay periods vary considerably, but to date, the vast majority of communities have had success in getting a bylaw passed with a delay of between 6 and 12 months. And really, that's my quick overview on local historic districts, local historical commissions, and demolition delay ordinances. These are the legal foundations for historic preservation in Massachusetts at the local level, and they are all somehow involved in the legislation that we're going to be talking about today. So with that, I will stop my share and turn it on to our next panelist.
Okay, thank you so much, Michael. So speaking today to the proposed legislation are Larry Spang and Russell Feldman. Russell Feldman is a registered architect and the principal emeritus and former president of TBA Architects Incorporated. Russ has been a preservation architect and advocate for his entire professional career, and his work has received the Mass Historic Commission's Preservation Award. He has twice served as the president of the Massachusetts chapter of the American Institute of Architects, and now with Larry Spang, serves as co-chair of the AIA's Government Affairs Committee. Russ is an architecture faculty member at the Boston Architectural College and has served as a past chair of the BAC's Board of Trustees. Larry Spang is an architect and urban designer. As a partner at Arrow Street, a Boston-based architecture and design firm, he leads the public sector practice with a particular emphasis on K-12 schools. Larry is a dedicated voice for historic preservation in his hometown of Salem, Massachusetts. For more than 20 years, Larry was a member of the Salem Historical Commission, serving as chair for the last 6 years. During his tenure as chair, the commission updated the city's demolition delay ordinance in 2021, issued new guidelines to help homeowners navigate preservation regulations in 2022, and contributed to resiliency planning to protect historic resources from flooding and storm events. As co-chairs of the Government Affairs Committee of AIA Massachusetts, Larry and Russ advocate for issues that affect architects and the built environment, including historic preservation, sustainability, housing, and building codes and regulations. Please welcome Larry Spang and Russ Feldman.
Thank you, and thank you, everyone, for the opportunity to present this. Let me pull up our show.
You know, Russ, while you're getting organized, I'll say it's good to see everyone, and I do see a few familiar faces as well. So it's nice to be here and have a chance to give you some introduction to the work we've been doing for the last few years. Trying to really put some ideas forward that help to solidify and codify some of the things that Michael was just talking about.
Okay, has that popped up?
Yeah, Russ, we're seeing your presenter screen. So if you have your other screen.
Okay, hold on.
Or we can leave it the way it was.
Sorry for the... Let me try that again.
Of course, it works flawlessly when you first did it.
That's right.
The prep.
Are you
There you
seeing?
go. Yep.
Try doing the slideshow now, and because right now we're still seeing the.
Really? You're not seeing it now?
We're seeing. Oh, there we go.
There it is.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. Well,
No
once
worries.
again, thank you for holding with us while we're trying to get this thing on board. Just a little bit about the genesis of our legislative effort. This is 29 Greenwood Street in Newton, Massachusetts. It's a local landmark. Although Newton has nearly 90,000 people and is a city, it only had 6 buildings of the 17th or 18th century. Newton was founded in the 1640s, but nevertheless has very few buildings of those ancient days. A developer purchased this site with a large enough acreage to put 4 or develop 3 $4 million private homes. This project was reviewed. The local historic commission reviewed the plans and included that the plans included some renovation and a large addition to the back of this building. Once they received permits for that, the property was sold to a builder developer in 2021. The Inspectional Services Department reviewed the plans and permitted limited demolition. The construction documents were mute on what was going to happen to the landmark. This is what happened to the landmark. Within about a 2-week period, there were 2 days in that week that this occurred. He simply demolished the existing building without a permit to do so. At that point, the city issued a stop work order. The developer offered to imitate the building. The real concern was that the ceiling heights were too low for a building that's going to sell for $4 million. And so they really wanted to extrude it vertically, which is what you're seeing here. When they were stopped, they offered to make a similar building on the site, but there had been no information on the landmark developed. There was no dimension drawings. There was no material or detail available. So all he could do was offer to reconstruct a building that might have been comparable and looking like it, but that's not what a landmark is. As a consequence, the city stopped work. The developer, the Historic Commission rejected the developer's proposal, and here it sits. This is the way it looks now. And it has looked this way since 2021. When the city attempted to look at penalties, they were limited to $300 a day fine because that's the fine that is authorized for unpermitted demolition. The lawsuits ensued. They are still underway. The developer has sued the city and also personally sued the mayor and all of the commission members who voted against the project. And that prompted us to consider how weak our statutes are. And so we at AIA thought it would be appropriate to develop legislation that would create new tools for developers through their towns. It was always and continues to be a home rule based structure. That is to say, cities and towns can empower their local commissions, and that's what this legislation continues to maintain. So, Larry, here's our agenda. Perhaps you could take us from here.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Russ. And so that was some of the background for us coming together at AIA Massachusetts. And just to explain our organization for those who aren't familiar with us, AIA Massachusetts is an umbrella organization of the three chapters of AIA, American Institute of Architects, the Boston Society of Architects. You may have heard of the BSA. A lot of people are familiar with them. There's the Central Mass chapter and the Western Mass chapter. Three different chapters that are all under AIA Massachusetts as an umbrella organization. And really what we provide is more advocacy involvement at the state level. So as mentioned previously, we are involved on a number of different issues, historic preservation being one of them, housing and construction of housing, sustainability, building performance, and certainly building regulation and requirements. So that is AIA Massachusetts. What we wanted to do was talk about our goals and objectives for the legislation we proposed. For those who aren't familiar, we proposed legislation in January of 2025, the start of the then new session, as is customary. And we had, and if I remember this correct, Russ, we had Senator Joanne Comerford was our sponsoring legislator. And I may get that wrong because I'm always trying to go back to my notes on that.
I think you're right.
Yep. Okay. So in any event, that was in January. We've received a bunch of information and thoughts about that since then. And we'll go through that in a little detail. So starting with our goals, objectives, talking about legal status of the demolition delay, as Michael outlined. Russ is going to talk for a few minutes about preservation tools around the US. We did do I think, pretty comprehensive survey of what other states and local communities have at their toolbox. And Russ is also going to walk through the proposed legislation, and we'll talk about some feedback we've gotten, and then certainly open up for Q&A. And we did promise we'd try to keep this short and sweet, so we'll keep moving. So as Russ was mentioning, our goal is to empower cities and states to protect history through either the LHC or the HDC. And I think Michael was good. Where I worked in Salem, it is a joint LHC, Local Historic Commission, and a Historic District Commission. I think it took a long while for those of us joining it to understand the nuanced difference between those two. And provide local communities the tools and resources to build better regulatory frameworks. And really our goal is to promote preservation and create some more standard preservation enforcement tools that communities can take from. So the objectives were to draw attention to the challenges faced by the local commissions, identify preservation's reform and offer suggested changes. And then again, creating a toolkit of policies and procedures that communities could adopt if they so choose to adjust and amend their local bylaws. One of the things we came across quite quickly, and Michael mentioned briefly, is that the demolition delay ordinance is not written in statute. It rests on a Superior Court decision, Cambridge versus Salucci in 1988. which the court found that the city did have the authority to create the demolition delay ordinance that Michael mentioned. And so that is the underpinning of the demolition delay at the state level. And it was no surprise to many of you that the 2022 Dodd's decision, which overturned Roe v. Wade, told us that things that are based on court decisions may not hold up as long as you might think so. And by comparison, we have, if you go to the next slide, Russ. For those of you who have seen, there's a pending lawsuit in Cambridge that was filed in December, in which a local developer has argued that it's unconstitutional to force developers to fund public affordable housing initiatives through mandatory unit set-asides. And for those of you who follow the housing market, this has been a very strong tool by local communities, City of Boston, City of Cambridge, many, many other communities, to try and get some affordable housing built in conjunction with market rate housing. So this particular lawsuit is pending its way. It's going to wind its way through the land court system, presumably ending up at SJC at some point in the probably distant future, given how they work. But again, this is something that somebody has decided, no, I want to challenge this. And we, at least for speaking for myself, on the housing side, hope that it is a ineffective challenge. But we also understand that folks could come after the demolition delay with similar lawsuits. So if we go to the next slide. So one of our goals is to really provide some framework, both the legislative, and Russ will walk through that in a minute, a legislative underpinning for what is a demolition delay ordinance. This is the same map that Michael showed a few minutes ago. It looks like we do need to update it because, Michael, yours is from May of 2024. Ours is the April version of 2023. But you can see here the patchwork quilt of different timeframes that Michael mentioned. Some communities, many communities having no demolition delay ordinance. Some are less than 6 months, and then some reach out to beyond 12 months. And I will say that the demolition delay ordinance that we recently adopted in the city of Salem, we are now out to 18 months. And for the development community, 18 months has some real rigor to it. 6 month delay sounds like the amount of time they'll need just to put their project together. So they often apply. They wait 6 months while they get all their drawings together, their financing, other permits, and then promptly on 6 months plus one, start the demolition. So, yep. And thanks, John, for Pittsfield is now up to 12 months. So again, we're seeing more teeth there. If we go to the next one.
Okay, I guess it's my turn.
Yep.
Right. One of the things we did at AIA in anticipation of developing this legislation was reach out to cities and towns and state regulators around the country to see what other tools were being employed. And there are a lot of them. And I don't mean to spend a lot of time on this, but you'll see here, for example, the way we've divided it, the financial incentives that certain towns and cities and states authorize. Just to mention a few, up to 50% historic tax credits, the ability in California to provide local property tax reductions, and also perhaps more an applause line in this case than anything we're proposing is that in Virginia, they allow the compensation for historic commissioners. And that would, I'm sure, be embraced by most of the Mass Historic Alliance. Compliance and enforcement tools, again, there are many here, but in Chicago can carry fines that can be applied daily of up to $2,000 to $4,000 a day, as opposed to the $300 a day that was set in 1966 here in Massachusetts. In Laguna Beach, California, they can put a construction moratorium on building permits. In Connecticut, they can fine anyone involved in a project, including architects, real estate agents, anyone besides builders and owners. In California, they have criminalized illegal demolition, which is a very important distinction. Finally, there are climate resilience topics that are of concern to us now, although this legislation doesn't address them, so I won't go into it, but people are starting to use tools to think about how to make how to promote energy efficiency and resiliency in historic buildings. So getting into the proposed legislation that we have, the first item is what we touched on earlier. Right now, demolition delay bylaws is based on case law, and case law can be overturned. And to some extent, we're seeing that the rules have changed about this. Developers are using lawsuits to intimidate and actually overturn case law-based tools. And although there are 160 some odd towns that have demolition delay bylaws, if the 1988 court case is overturned, they're gone. So we wanted to place that in statute. If it's in statute, it has to be undone in statute, and the courts aren't able to overturn it that way. So that's our first intent. The second is a little bit of rebranding. This is not all that important, but in a way it is. What we're proposing is that the commissions can enforce a preservation period rather than demolition delay. And the notion is functionally that's what it's for, right? I mean, local commissions can force a developer to hold for a while and see if they can negotiate a compromise. The idea of preservation period is what that's about. Demolition delay in some respects is defensive. You know, we're obstructing as opposed to being a partner. So we thought that was important enough to build into this. The next is to update fees. Well, actually, this particular one uses a tool that's widely applied in other fields. For example, in conservation commissions in Massachusetts, where they maintain consultants on retainer, and a developer who is proposing, an applicant is proposing to make a change, must submit and pay for the time spent in expert analysis and investigation of what the developer is proposing. And that becomes an order of conditions, which are passed by the commission and become enforceable and quite specific. As mentioned here, characteristics like structural conditions and proposed alterations. Also, documentation, including, what about the historic structure is to be preserved. Another element here is to update fines. They're $300 a day now. This proposal has the pretty high number of $25,000 a day. Now, again, just to be clear about this and everything in this bill, this allows towns and cities to authorize their commissions to charge fines of up to $25,000 a day. That doesn't mean they have to. So a town could say, well, we think $1,000 a day is okay, or $10,000 a day. It's up to them. And it's up to them to authorize their commissions to do it. But it's a tool, and certainly enables everybody to revisit $300 a day as any kind of meaningful expense associated with major developments. And then, as mentioned, empowering local commissions, as we saw in Chicago, to create a construction moratorium, in this case of up to 10 years. Now, this is a real disincentive. This is what developers would pay a lot of attention to. And it's a tool that would make the commission a genuine partner in setting down and saying, well, you've got to meet our requirements or otherwise we'll stop you dead. 10 years is a long time. One thing we're not doing, and I touched on it a little bit, is looking at resiliency, creating financial incentives for preservation. We would like to do this. One of the things that is important, if we want our historic buildings to last another 150 or 200 years, they're going to have to be made efficient enough to withstand the pressures of increased energy costs and the resiliency in particular for coastal areas and waterfront areas. And so we would like to do this, but right now we're not. And so we're not looking to do it. Just wanted to make mention of the fact that it's something that might be in the offing if we can build support for it. Larry, I think it's your turn now. Or not, Larry? I'm sorry.
I did that mute thing and I always forget to undo it. Okay,
Right.
Let's try that again. So thanks, Russ. So again, we've received some feedback on our proposed legislation. A lot of it concerned about, what is the impact of this? And I think Russ and I are both anxious to get the word out, understand, get feedback, and we'll go through the timelines in a minute. But does this bill preempt local control? Are we forcing this onto local communities? And I think, as Russ has been indicating, no, we're not planning to. This provides tools that can be enacted by local commissions, but not necessarily imposed from the state level. Do the new tools apply to localities that already have local historic commissions and historic district commissions? Yes, it allows them to implement tools that they may or may not have today, but it doesn't impose a duty to do that. Do historic district commissions under Chapter 40C need demolition delay? That's that interesting nuance that Michael was pointing out. A historic district commission under the current 40C is allowed to preclude a demolition entirely. And so it's really a pretty rigorous ability there. It's more the local historic commissions. And I'll say in our town of Salem, city of Salem, excuse me, we have 5 or 6 regulated districts. Anywhere else in town, which also has many, many historic properties, historic resources, the delays are what is applied to those, not necessarily a prohibition. Should a public hearing be required to determine significance? I think that's open to conversations. We feel like it is important, and for the amount of time that we used it in the city of Salem, it's really good to say, is this important? And now do we preferably preserve it? And those 2 decision points being done by the Historic District Commission, I think really focus people's understanding of what are we trying to accomplish here. And are the proposed fines for unauthorized demolition too high? I think that, again, is up to the local historic commissions to decide. Certainly the cap at the moment feels very low. It was set in the late 60s. And if you, as Russ points out, the amount of money spent today on a project, that can feel like just the cost of doing business to many folks when they think about the potential fines. So that essentially encompasses what we've filed. It was clear from really early on in the process last year that there was not nearly sufficient support across the State House for the bill. So at our request, it was moved to study, which essentially is their way of killing the bill, at least for this session. So this session will wind itself down this summer in July and essentially conclude officially at the end of the year. Our proposal was really intended, and we see this as a long-term effort. We weren't imagining that this was going to be passed in 1 legislative session. We'd love it if it were in 2. 3 seems likely, and who knows how long it may take. But really, it's a start of a conversation, particularly among preservation advocates, to see what other feedback we should be taking in and looking to adjust our proposal. So again, happy to take everybody's thoughts and ideas. The idea is that we would adjust as appropriate the legislation, work with our sponsors at the State House, and then refile again in the new session that starts in January of next year. So with that, I think, yes, we're, thanks so much. And this is the contact, John Nunnery, who, if you want to send emails to, please feel free, and he'll act as the clearinghouse to get to others amongst the AIA Massachusetts who are working on this. So thanks, everyone. Appreciate the opportunity to talk at some length, hopefully not too long, about our proposed legislation.
Thank you so much, Russ and Larry and Michael. This brings up, I'm sure, a lot of questions, and we don't have a whole lot of time. Actually, I was going to start off. What were the sticking points in the legislature?
Let's see. Probably the bill sort of arrived without a lot of fanfare ahead of time. So I don't think we did a good job of building a base of support in the legislature. And then hearing from some constituents worried about not really quite understanding what the bill is trying to accomplish, and particularly the notion that it might be somehow sort of top down, all commissions, all local communities would have to adopt these tools, began to run into the concern, local home rule. And we've seen that similar when states, particularly the MBTA Communities Act, which really is the state trying to say, hey, local communities, you need to follow our guidelines here. I think there was a lot of concern about that started to echo into some of the legislators' inboxes. And so it was, I think, a number of different factors. I don't know, Russ, if you have any other perceptions of what happened there.
I think that was the major concern, that somehow the state was going to be dictating what cities and towns have to do. And if there's another concern, it was the technical one that we mentioned before, which is it seemed like we were reducing the powers of local historic district commissions, which have a stronger demolition oversight than the demolition delay, or now called preservation period, that we were advocating for. And that simply wasn't our intent. And so that is easy to take away. But I think the larger question is more about a confusion about what the purpose of the legislation was, and we occasionally make reference to a toolbox. And so this creates a legislatively authorized toolbox that it's up to the preservation community to lobby their own select board and their city council to get them to authorize them to do any of these things. But at least it provides the toolbox that they would have the authority to be granted.
Yeah, and I think, speaking as a member of both local historic district commission and the local historical commission, it can be hard getting some of these things through town meeting. They can be very reluctant. I was just thinking, $25,000 a day, that would be great, but our town was reluctant to uphold the $300.
Wow.
So I don't think, and honestly, looking at the Newton example, once the building has been torn down, there really is no way to restore it. So that fine becomes, non-operational. So I like the idea of holding up the permit, a delay on the permits as a better mechanism. But I think a lot of us would welcome seeing some of these things standardized, even if not imposed. What does demolition mean? What does significant mean? These are all things that are included. So we can go, what's the difference between a 6 and 12-month delay in terms of process and result? So we could go to our communities and say, all right, this is the proven result. This is what we need to look at. Whereas we're kind of winging it half the time. Several people have asked about the slideshow being available. This meeting is being recorded. It will be made, the recording will be made available on the Mass History Commons, on the Mass History Commons website. So, and if Jenny, you could put that address in the chat, people can catch it there. So yes, later today, or certainly soon, very soon, this whole thing will be available for you to review, to pass on to colleagues, etc. Does anybody have questions or things they want to ask? The building, KH says if a building is torn down, can project developer put a portion of the money into mitigation fund for preservation? That's actually an interesting possibility as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that would be up to the town, because what the legislation enables the commission to require is the funds be received. They're received by the town. So if the town authorizes the funds to go to the commission or to a preservation fund, that would be within the town's authority. So it would really be up to, again, in this case, the individual activists in the town to be able to say, this is what should happen. One thing I would like to mention that I at least have seen in a number of instances where contractors, oh, they're supposed to hold up a portion of the building and, it just fell down. We really couldn't predict that.
Yes.
And this is clearly an abuse of the situation. But the only realistic way to manage a construction project is to have oversight. And oversight is extremely expensive. And it's very demanding of individual commissioners if they take it upon themselves to keep an eye on things, knowing what appropriate scaffolding is, for example, that they could stop a construction project to say, you've got to reinforce this more. This bill would allow commissioners to hire someone to do that work on their behalf. It's not the developer hiring the oversight, it's the commission. And but the developer pays for it. And so that becomes operationally much more meaningful than what commissions now are required to do.
Yeah, Nicole Benjamin asks, would it be possible to get copies of the slides themselves? I think the best way to do that is to email John at that email that Russ and Larry left us at the end of their presentation.
Yeah, we could provide a PDF.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, likely
And-
John will put it up on the website somehow, but in the meantime, just shoot him an email.
Yeah, it's just popped, the address just popped up in the chat. And
Yeah.
if you put in Michael's as well, so people can get his slideshow.
And
Sarah
I would
Birch
say
says,
John would have joined us, but he's off on vacation. So if he doesn't get back to you right away, that's because he'll be back in a few weeks.
let's see, Sarah Burke says, my primary concern is introducing a demo delay to 40C districts, and you've heard that already. Second concern is whether having a new state legislation would undercut a municipality's case for upholding existing home rule legislation if a court challenge is brought. If the local rule is stronger in some respect to your legislation, would courts automatically defer to the new state law?
Well, that's an interesting question. You're asking about what a court would do, and I don't think either Larry or I are really the ones to answer that. It does strike me that if the state statute authorizes a municipality to take certain action, if they choose not to take that action, but have their own home rule ordinance already in place, the law is explicit in not saying that anything is foreclosed or corrected or changed. There's nothing in the statute that would say inaction by the town in reference to the statute means that they are losing their current protection. Now, that's me talking about that. That's our intent. It's a good question, though. I think that's the kind of question that helps us make sure when we do go back to the lawyers to think through exactly how this is worded, that we can assure that that would not be the case.
Gloria, can I
Yeah.
jump in here? I just kind of have a clarifying question that's sort of related to this. My reading of the changes were that if a community adopts Chapter 40, Section 8D to establish a historical commission, then they are automatically adopting this demolition delay that's in here. I don't see any sort of, may adopt or anything like that. So I think that's kind of one of the biggest concerns with this is that once you do this, you automatically do this. And I think that's kind of what Sarah's question is getting at as well. that if it is automatic, that now every community in the state that has a historical commission is automatically having this form of demo delay, is that supplanting some of the demo delays that already exist? They're very different from what's included in here. And also, as Michael noted, we only have 160 communities that have demo delay. That's adding demo delay to more than half of the communities that didn't have it before.
Oh.
So I think the language in there might need some clarification of whether this is a completely separate thing from a historical commission that a historical commission in a town can choose to do, like they currently can, or if automatically by adopting a historical commission, you are adopting this form of demo delay.
Well, that's certainly not our intent, so we can just make sure that all the lawyers agree that the language is clear about that.
Yeah, I was going to add to Russ, because we did work with an attorney on the drafting of the language actually quite specifically, and I'm not quite sure. I don't have the words in my head, but looking back, whether that's indeed in the language or whether that's a rumor that it's in the language. So I don't know the answer to either of those, but as Russ says, it's certainly not our intent to force communities that don't have a demolition delay or even don't have a historic commission that somehow they've got to create something under this proposed legislation.
Yeah, and it may be worth just thinking about pulling it out in some way so that it isn't as deeply connected to our historical commission language, because we don't want to be in a situation where communities say, oh, well, we don't want demo delay, so we're just going to eliminate our historical commission. So we want to make it clear, as you said, that it is a toolbox, it's an option, something for communities to adopt like 40C is, but that it's separate from a historical commission itself.
I'm going to take this opportunity to further introduce Jenn Doherty because I know she has some additional comments. Um, so I'm sorry, we're running a little bit over time. I hope you don't mind. Several people have asked, how do they provide feedback, and I'm going to refer them to John Nunari.
John
Is that the
Nunnery,
best way?
yes.
If you do have additional comments and feedback on this legislation or additional questions, um, you know, uh, John's email is in the chat. Michael Steinertz's email is in the chat. Refer them, refer your questions to them, and you'll be able to get a more a well-considered response. I would like right now to introduce Jenn Doherty, who has some final comments. Jen is a preservation planner at Bartlett Planning Group, where she brings over 10 years of experience in historic preservation at the local and state levels. Her experience includes research and documentation work as a consultant, time as a municipal preservation planner and state historic preservation office staff, and service on municipal historical commissions. Her passion is strengthening the role of historical preservation within the larger planning processes at the local, regional, and state levels. Jen has a master's degree in preservation studies from Boston University, a master of regional planning from the University of Massachusetts at Amherst, and a bachelor's degree in history and government from Sweetbriar College. Thank you, Jen.
Yeah, thanks, Gloria. So my role here was to just kind of give a summary of everything. I'm sorry we didn't get to hear from more folks. So I certainly do hope you share your comments with AIA if you have them, additional ones than what we shared here. But Michael started by giving us sort of an overview of existing preservation legislation here in Massachusetts, the difference between historical commissions, historic district commissions, and the demolition delay process. Russ and Larry then presented AIA's proposed changes to our state legislation and some of the background on that related to the demolition of a property in Newton. And then there were some concerns, I guess there were some sticking points in the legislature, in the legislative process. So the legislation currently is not moving forward. AIA is looking to gather comments and introduce the legislation next January. There were some comments in the chat related to things like deconstruction and potentially some kind of a mitigation fund if a property is demolished. And then some concerns kind of around how the demo delay would actually apply to communities if they already have demo delay or if they don't have demo delay. So I think that's what we've discussed, and I see a few other comments in the chat, but again, folks, certainly share them with AIA if you have them. So turn it back to you, Gloria.
Okay. I agree with Margot. I think preservation period is a better term. But that is a small, but I think you're right, sort of significant part of the proposal. Thank you everybody for staying a little bit later. I think I think we need to wrap up now.
If I may, Gloria, excuse me, if I may just offer one other thought, that we are looking to make this, in a sense, the beginning of a conversation. So there may be other times in the future that we could continue to raise, if folks have a chance to raise other points. It's great to hear from them, and we'd be very interested in continuing this elsewhere and here again.
Excellent, thank you. That would be an interesting topic to continue. And allow some more time for discussion. The coordinator has put the Mass History Commons response form address in the chat. Please give us your feedback on this on the session. Give us your ideas for future chats. We love all this information and we certainly use it. We do pay attention to it and it helps us improve this project. Thank you again to our sponsors who keep us going. And we look forward to seeing you again on April 17th when we talk about meeting the new Mass educational frameworks for history and social studies. They are changing in new and I think some fairly beneficial ways. And a lot of us will have some part in working with teachers around that. So I think that's going to be a good conversation. Information about that program, the recording of this program, can all be found on our website, masshistorycommons.org. So thank you all so much. And we'll see you in April. And thank you so much to our presenters, Russ Feldman, Larry Spang, and Michael Steinertz, and Jenn Doherty.
Thanks all.
Thank
Looking
you,
forward to
everybody.
hearing from folks.
Okay, thanks guys. That was really interesting. And I think yeah, there may be room for another conversation.
Hope so.
Yeah, okay. Hey Susan. Okay.
Gloria, do you want me to end the chat for all, or do you want to stay
I
on?
think so, yeah. I think we're
Okay.
done. Okay. Bye everybody.
Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you.